I'm Mary Ann Auld, Managing Partner of Kelly Hart & Hallman and Chair of the Fort Worth Chamber. We are thrilled to welcome a small in-person audience to today's event, and we thank all of you who are joining us remotely, whether it's from a watch party, from the desk in your office, or from your couch at home. We are so happy to have you with us in whatever way works best for you. The theme for today's event is Standing Strong. Mayor Price chose this theme to pay tribute to our city, which has remained strong through a number of tough challenges over the past year or so. Through it all, we have resolved to help one another, to remain resilient, and to keep pushing ahead and planning for our bright future together. Many thanks to the leaders in this community for all you have done this past year. And a very special thanks to all of the frontline workers who are truly heroes among us. Although events in this day and age look drastically different than they used to, one thing remains the same. They would not be possible without the continued support of our sponsors. So a heartfelt thank you to all of our sponsors who have adjusted with us and offered support in so many ways. Our presenting sponsor today is Simmons Bank, and we're joined by Lori Baldock, Fort Worth Market President for Simmons. Thank you, Simmons, and thank you, Lori, for being here. Our platinum sponsors are Baylor Scott & White, All Saints Medical Center, Fort Worth, Bell, Kelly Hart & Hallman, Frost, and BNSF Railway Company. And a special thank you to Sundance Square. Our gold sponsors are First Financial Bank, Hillwood Properties, JP Morgan, North Texas Community Foundation, and Encore Electric Delivery. Our many silver sponsors are listed on the screen behind me. Thank you to all of our sponsors for the great work you do in the community to keep Fort Worth economically strong. And now I'd like to invite Lori Baldock, Fort Worth Market President with Simmons Bank, up to the stage.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Good afternoon. I'm Lori Baldock, Fort Worth Market President for Simmons Bank. I want to begin this morning by thanking Mayor Price for all the ways she's served this great city these last 10 years. Mayor Price's leadership has been especially impactful this last year as she's helped guide us through some very challenging times. Our city has long been known for its spirit of optimism and its reputation for growth. Personally, these are some of the qualities that have made me most proud of Fort Worth. During the past year, we've seen additional qualities come into focus: resilience, courage, and compassion. Those of us in the banking industry have witnessed these qualities firsthand because we've worked alongside thousands of individuals, families, and small businesses, helping them navigate the economic challenges brought on by COVID-19. I cannot emphasize enough what an honor this has been. From launching an affordable home mortgage product with 100% financing to funding approximately $1 billion in PPP loans for small businesses, Simmons Bank has helped keep many dreams alive for our Fort Worth community. Dreams like affordable home ownership or preserving a family business for the next generation. These strides build on Simmons' foundation of supporting our Fort Worth community through partnerships with outstanding organizations such as the Fort Worth Chamber and Dickies Arena. Although Simmons Bank has been in the North Texas market for 3 years, it's amazing and humbling to think about all the opportunities we've been given in this short amount of time. Opportunities to come alongside our Fort Worth community in support of commerce and prosperity. It's a tremendous privilege to play a part in our city's economic vitality and by providing capital to individuals, families, and businesses, and we deeply value that trust. So on behalf of all of us at Simmons Bank, thank you. We look forward to continuing to serve our Fort Worth community and hope you'll come see us. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Lori. Thank you so much to your ongoing support, Simmons Bank, all you do for the Chamber and this community. So we're almost here, y'all. I know we're excited to be able to hear from the mayor, but before we do, there's something very important that the mayor and all of us at the Chamber wanted to do is recognize some local companies that have exemplified of something very important that I would argue may be the most important attribute with an organization. And that is to be a best place for working parents. Can I get an amen? Yes, thank you for that support. So Best Place for Working Parents is a designation that was started in 2020 here in Fort Worth that represents the ROI on supporting working parents through family-friendly policies, culture, and resources. And didn't last year sort of raise that to a boiling point in terms of being friendly for working parents? More than ever, businesses are adapting to be supportive of their working parents, families that exist behind every employee. So with these changes, research continues to show us that being a family-friendly benefits business attraction, recruitment, overall satisfaction, and productivity. That's why we're big supporters of this. We want to be able to attract and retain the best talent, and being a best place for working families does that. And as of 2021, the Best Place for Working Parents expanded beyond Fort Worth to include Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin. So a round of applause for that. It all started here in Fort Worth. So, all right, let's talk about 3 Fort Worth companies who are receiving awards for going above and beyond when it comes to being a best place for working parents. Fort Worth's 2021 Best Place for Working Parents Innovator Award winners are, let's do this drum roll. Okay, thank you for the, yes, that was good drum roll, thank you. All right, so there's a category, Best Place for Working Parents. The Events Innovator Award goes to Byrne Construction Services. Let's give a round for Byrne. And then we have the Best Place for Working Parents Resources Innovator goes to DFW International Airport. Oh gosh, can't wait to fly again. Okay, the last award is the Innovator Award. Best Place for Working Parents Innovator goes to the Bank of Texas. Let's give it up. So let's congratulate these award-winning companies and there's hundreds of companies here locally that actually have the designation of Best Place for Working Parents. They are leading by example, showing just how family-friendly is business-friendly. So if you want to learn more about it, you don't know anything about it, go to the website bestplace4workingparents.com, and I hope to see your organization as part of the fast-growing businesses for next year. So, all right, so now we're moving to the star of the show, Mayor Price. It is a bittersweet moment for all of us. This is number 10. She is unplugged today. I've never seen her not unplugged, but even more so today, I think. She's going to be interviewed right here by the amazing, wonderful, talented, awesome Deborah Ferguson, who's a co-anchor of NBC5 Today. I texted Betsy last night, and this is a big deal. We're all going to have to help her get through it, and she's going to help us get through it. And I said, Mayor, tomorrow's a big day. I wish we could honor you in a better way than this in this COVID environment. And she responded and said, I love you. How sweet is that? And then 2 minutes later, she said, here's a text from John Goff. If you could meet with him next week, there's a real important initiative I'd like you to work on. So if y'all think that she is going to be coasting into May, that ain't going to happen. So let's give it up for the wonderful, talented, awesome, best mayor of ever, Mayor Betsy Price.
Welcome to each and every one. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your new mayor. Being the mayor of my hometown is the greatest honor I will ever have. I'm ready to get my boots on the ground, visiting with you. My dad always said, it takes a team to pull a heavy load. We will pull the heavy load, and we will do wonderful things. Together, we will make Fort Worth an even better place to live, work, and raise your family. We will kickstart our economy and attract new jobs to Cowtown. We can and must coordinate with Fort Worth ISD and the other district to make our schools better, to indeed make them the best in the nation. Together, we will address the concerns for every single neighborhood in our city and provide great service and great infrastructure. We will get through these times, but we must not lose sight that City Hall is there to help families and to help businesses. Let's make sure that everyone knows Cowtown is a big city with a small town attitude, a city where people speak to you on the street and help those who are in need. I ask each and every one of you only one thing. Either lead, follow, or get out of the way, because Cowtown is on the move. Thank you. And that video was 10 years ago. Can you believe that?
No.
I was thinner and younger.
How have you kept the same hairstyle, though?
You know, I don't know.
A good stylist,
It's
right?
just easy to do short hair.
You know, I look at that video, Mayor, and I think about when you first came into office, and I've watched you at many events, watched you at City Hall, and you here today as well. I mean, the fire you had on day one for the city of Fort Worth and what you wanted for it is still so alive in you today. 10 times 365 days later, it is still so alive, and you have passion for what you do.
I have passion. I love this job, and I love this city, and I'm about half crazy. You can just ask my family or my husband, but you know, you gotta have a passion to do this job. You just really need to be on fire about this job to work for this city. And I've never done anything that I haven't done passionately. You really have to show people that you care.
Is that true, Tom? She's passionately about everything she does? Okay, just. All right. So I got to tell you. So you know, Mayor, my job is, you know, news anchor, NBC5, kind of stick to script. There's the whole teleprompter going on, kind of thing. And I was watching your videos on your Twitter page and the Chamber's Twitter page, and it's like, I plan to be Betsy Unplugged and give some really honest answers. And the Chamber says, you never know what Betsy Price might say or do. So I'm sitting here just going to sit back and watch the show.
Well, you never know. You never do know what the heck I might say. And while we build this as Betsy Unplugged, Brandon Gingelbach made the comment, said, you're always unplugged, Betsy, so what's different?
Brandon also said when he was introducing you, he called this occasion bittersweet. So I'm curious, is it more bitter or more sweet?
You know, it's a little bit of both. It's hard to weigh out what it is at this point. I'm still working. I've got to June 15th if we go to a runoff, and I'll just keep working. And then when I'm out, I'll collapse.
Be ready to catch her, y'all, whoever's next to her. So 10 years you have served at City Hall, the city's longest serving mayor. And I think I would all say that your last year in office has proven probably to be the most challenging. You've just been hit with one crisis after another.
Yeah, 2020 was, as somebody said, 2020 was the year from hell. 2021's when hell froze over. And, you know, we've come through this very strong, but certainly whoever expected my last state of the city to be dealing with a pandemic? The country hasn't seen anything like this before, and I hope we never do again. I will say that the city of Fort Worth has done a fabulous job on this. And then last week, clearly, we had another tragedy on I-35 with a 133-car pileup, 6 fatalities. But our folks were right on the spot. Our police department, MedStar, our fire department could not have done better. It was a tragic situation, and we are working with NTA and TxDOT to try to find answers so that we can mitigate that it could happen again. And then we had the ice storm the snowstorm, whatever you want to call it, and the resulting power and water failures. You know, I'm tired of people pointing fingers. This is a time for solutions. We will ask the tough questions. Early on in this last week, I said, we're not pointing fingers. We have to get power back to people and water back to people because it's all about people who are suffering. There is a time to ask questions, and the state is doing that at the power level. We certainly will be doing that at Fort Worth at our level on the water failures, asking what happened, what could we have done better. In fact, council started that process on Tuesday, asking those hard questions, and we will get there, and we will. We did a good job delivering, and we did a good job in our response, but we can always do better.
I think folks would be glad to hear that, because when you think about a city standing strong, when there are pockets of our community that have to boil water before they can consume it for days on end and don't have water, that may not look like a city that's standing strong in that moment.
We were the first of the big cities to have bottled water available, and we made it available all over our community. And yes, I know people without water. Tom and I still don't have hot water. We just got cold water just recently. We had a flood at our house, so we can really connect to how people were feeling. It was a tragic situation, but we all have to come together. Fort Worth is a very resilient and compassionate community, and everybody stood up to help their neighbors. Not a pleasant situation to have to be in, but a situation that we are addressing, and if we have another one, we will do better, and we will keep the power on and the water up.
Yeah, a lot of those answers will come from Austin and those hearings that start today.
And we'll be following those hearings that are starting today.
We are coming up, we're towards the end of February. March 9th will be a year. March 9th will be a year that our region got its first diagnosis of COVID-19. And here we are a year later. You know, still there are kids not going to school, learning virtually. There are businesses that aren't up and running. There are businesses that have been lost. If you would, Mayor, just kind of take us through the city's response to COVID-19.
Sure. I mean, no one thought we would still be here a year later, and it's going to run on for a while into more than a year. And who would have ever dreamed that? I think, the last speech I gave in first week of March, and someone asked about COVID, and I said, it's an issue we're going to deal with, but I hope it's a short-term issue. I wish we'd known that at the time. In March, the state left the direction of how this was going to be handled up to cities and up to the mayors to try to settle this. The big city mayors, the top 6, 7 cities at the time, came together to issue a stay-at-home order. I mean, all of us have a working group, and we issued a stay-at-home order that covered 80% of the cities within just about 24 hours of realizing that the governor was turning it over to us. It was a great partnership with the fellow mayors, but then we reached back and we started partnering with the county. The county judge and I talked several times a day to start out with, the commissioners, county administrator. It was amazing what was done here locally and how we responded. Not a perfect response, but a very good response from our team, a very strong response. Regionally, we came together with the top 57 mayors in our region through North Texas Commission. I had the honor of co-chairing the Mayor's Economic Recovery Council, and we came up with, when we got into the mask area, we came up with the Y'all Wear a Mask campaign that's not only gone just our region, but now it's Dallas, Houston, and Austin all have it. But you gotta know, Fort Worth was the first with the y'all. It had to be, right?
Right.
Then we partnered with Denton County to work on vaccines, and of course continued to partner with our county, with Tarrant County. Our team was led by our fire chief, Jim Davis, and our public health team and Brandon Bennett. And I tell you what, in our emergency response, the JEOC, under Mary Bell Martinez, I don't think any of them have slept since last March. It's just been amazing. The city also stepped up with tremendous service delivery. I won't give you all the examples, but there are just far too many of them to name. Our library, at the time the libraries were shut down, our librarian and her team came up with the idea that we have all of our seniors at home that no one's checking on. So they called 10,000 seniors That's 10,000 people they made calls to. And many times it was just a conversation. How are you doing? What are you doing? We're working on it here at the city. What can we do to help you? We stepped in with education to fill the gaps for the schools and created Camp Connection, which taught parents and students how to download their kids' lessons. We took $5 million of our CARES dollars and put it into Wi-Fi access, boost it through the neighborhoods, because so many neighborhoods and so many small businesses just didn't have adequate access to do Zoom, to do their lessons. The bottom line was Fort Worth rose to the occasion through innovative and bold thinking that was outside the box. I'm incredibly proud of what we did with that.
And then you also got all the what, $158 million in CARES funding. Was that money spent in the way that you thought it should have been spent?
Yeah, I did. I was very, very pleased with Fort Worth's response. Fort Worth has always been conservative financially, fiscally conservative. We didn't ask for this lost revenue that came to, the money that came to us from Washington to cover lost revenue. There were many cities who said, we got to get an exclusion here and we need to use it for city revenue. We said, we want to get this in the hands of our residents, in the hands of our small businesses. First and foremost, we did an incredible job. We partnered with Fort Worth Housing Solutions to put 119 unit with permanent supportive housing online, 119 homeless folks we put in where they could, at an old hotel where they could get services with part of that dollars. We took the $5 million I mentioned for Wi-Fi, but the record that we're most proud of, Robert Stearns and his team and the Chamber in Fort Worth now all came together to do Preserve the Fort, to get that money into small businesses. The backbone of our economy has always been small business, and small business was really hurting. So many of them had been shut down. So many of them were teetering whether they could reopen or not. So we took $55 million, about 34% of what we got, and put it directly in the hands of small businesses. It's what made us by far the highest percentage of cities' dollars went into that. And that, folks, there's supposed to be a chart here. Here it is. I don't know whether you can see this or not, but look, all this is all the major cities nationwide and how much money they put into their small businesses. Now, look at Fort Worth. We put that much, head and shoulders over anyone else. And that, folks, is business friendly. That's the idea. You can't survive if you can't keep your backbone businesses afloat.
That is helping small businesses stand strong.
That's helping them stand strong.
And you came as the county tax assessor collector. You campaigned, and in those early speeches you talked about building a city hall that was fiscally responsible. So what kind of shape is the city's finances in as you get ready to leave office?
The city's finances are in great shape. That's one reason we could put that money in there and not worry about our dollars, our budget. It took 10 years ago for us to start on this journey on finances. And under David Cook and Jay Chapa and his team, we have lowered the tax rate 12 cents in the last 10 years. We settled the pension issue, and that is really the backbone. We didn't ask the state to come in and settle our pension issues. We took two firm votes on that pension, and now our pension is stable. We went into this pandemic financially stronger than any other major city in the nation. That's how we managed to do that, and I'm convinced that when we leave now, we will be in equally good shape.
Why help people understand, and we talked about this a couple months ago, about the importance of solving that pension issue, because you were very proud that City Hall was able to do that.
I was. We were the only major city in the state that settled it locally. We didn't go to Austin to help. We worked with our unions, and we got it done. And that means our employees will have a strong pension. It means the taxpayers aren't settled with a huge liability.
I've talked a little bit about the pandemic. Just got to quickly ask you, you look very well, very healthy. Tom looks well and healthy too. Are we reading that right?
I think so. We're in good shape. We survived COVID. got through 10 years in the mayor's office, and I think we've got something coming up on health and well-being.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Of course, when you think about people who are healthy and well and fit, you think about athletes. And so on that topic of health and wellness, we got in a little assist here this afternoon, and world famous former Dallas Cowboys Emmitt Smith. Mayor Price has a question for you on that topic.
Mayor Betsy Price, congratulations on your last state of the city and your incredible decade of service for the city of Fort Worth. You have accomplished so many great things in the short period of time that you've been mayor. But as an athlete and a fellow cyclist, something that's near and dear to my heart is Fort Worth. Fort Worth, Blue Zone, you improved the trail system. You've enhanced the health and the wellness of Fort Worth and its citizens. I have two questions. The first, what is your proudest accomplishment when it comes to health and wellness for the city of Fort Worth and its citizens? The second, in light of COVID-19, what should the health initiative be for the city of Fort Worth moving forward? Thank you, Ms. Betsy Price. You're a beautiful person, beautiful woman, big heart, big spirit, and you have done an incredible job for your citizens. Continue. Much success beyond this, and I will see you on the trail.
Emmitt's turned into a very dear friend. I've ridden bikes with him several times, and one, he nearly killed me because he's averaging 25 miles an hour. But the next one, I nearly killed him because it was 102 in Fort Worth, and he said, "I'll never ride with you again." You know, Emmitt mentioned Blue Zones. 7 years ago, we started looking at the health of this community, and we've just done incredible work. I'm not going to get down into a whole lot of details or we'll run out of time. But Fort Worth's well-being continues to go up on the scale while the nation as a whole is going down. I'm very proud of the work we've done there. I'm very proud of the work that Fort Worth has done with our children's health and what they're continuing to do. Even in the midst of this pandemic, we've been holding steady. Our Blue Zones is now under Texas Health Resources. It will continue. Fort Worth is under UNT Health Science Center, and they will continue. But you haven't heard the last of me when it comes to talking about public health in this community, because it is a passion of mine. On Emmitt's question about COVID-19, 6 months before COVID-19, we had already decided that we would look at this a little bit differently, the health of the community, that we simply had to drill down into a very targeted approach into the communities that needed it most, where diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, lack of access to fresh foods, lack of access to medical care. And so Blue Zones has pivoted and is working in that area. It's going to be proven, and it already is coming out, that healthier communities survived this pandemic better. I really think it's important. We lobbied our federal government to let folks use their SNAP benefits for double up. If they're buying fresh foods, they can do it at farmers markets and grocery store, and now it's gone nationwide. But I really think this is not about government being heavy-handed or telling you what to eat or what to, when to exercise. This is about making those healthy choices easier for people and about doing the hard work to educate people that they've got to take some responsibility for their own health.
Yeah, well, you're a living example of why that's a good thing to do. You talked about Fort Worth being focused on the health of children. I know that focusing on those early childhood years has been important to you. Would you talk a little about some of the things you're proud of as you leave office?
Yeah, I started talking about education as mayor 10 years ago, and there were a significant number of people who said, "Don't talk about education, that's not your bailiwick. That's not the mayor's forte." And I said, if it isn't, who will? Because it is our workforce, it is our future, it's what businesses have to have. But we can't talk about public education without talking about early education. Congratulations to today's winners. But from our Cradle to Career initiative, the T3, Best Places for Kids, Child Care Associates, Early Learning Alliance, there's so much going on. What was once seen as a perk if a business offered parental leave or child care incentives is now mandatory. If we're going to attract and maintain the workforce that we need, we must offer those benefits. I'm proud to say that the City of Fort Worth approved parental leave for all our employees this year, and we ask our fellow businesses to join us, and Dannon has stepped up and is now adding family leave to theirs. I would challenge all the rest of you to look at it too, because family friendly truly is business friendly.
And when you talk about what businesses have done in that area, I remember several years ago you talking about the importance of business and employees getting into schools across this city to really beef up education and have that partnership between education and business. You know, people didn't want you talking about public education, but you had to.
So let's get unplugged and let's talk very seriously about education. I've spent 10 years talking about it. Our students need our help now more than ever. COVID-19 has ripped the rug out from under how they're being educated. The projections of where we're headed, this isn't just Fort Worth, this is every major city, should sound an alarm. The projection is, and you all know third grade is the benchmark for whether children will succeed or not. The projection is that only 23% of our children will finish this year reading at grade level or finish third grade. The future is, if we don't act now, that's our future. We have to think deeply about building a system that works for these kids, not just repairing what clearly hasn't been working for them to begin with. It's time that we stopped plugging holes and started building a whole new ship that works. I'm going to support that we add days to classrooms for students. If that means they have to go into the summer, we simply have to get these kids back on track. This is the moment that this community must step up and lobby to get our kids better educated. And there are two things businesses can do right now. One of them is you can go to Read Fort Worth's website and sign that you support more days in school and that teacher performance with rewards for teachers who are really getting our kids educated. The second is pay attention to the school board races. They're going to be critical. You've got to have school board members who are interested in our children and not the politics, not just the administration. And if people in this team listening to this, watching this, those of you in the audience, if you're not awake now how dire public education is, then I've not been doing my job the last 10 years. It can be settled, but it must be done creatively.
That's a pretty bold statement for you to say, add days to classrooms through the school year. Have you had this conversation with the superintendent?
We've been talking about it for some time.
And you are asking the audience today to back that.
Yeah.
And so you have this focus on education, getting these kids where they need to be, and there's a direct tie between the financial health of this city.
Yep. Yeah, you know, economic development, the financial health is tied to the workforce that we have. Economic development is at a turning point in Fort Worth now. It's the first time in 10 years that I've done an event that we didn't have Bill Thornton, and I want to thank Bill for his hard work. But Brandon Gingelbach and his team have gotten lean and mean, picked 3 topics that they believe will expand. Economic development, and they're going to do a great job. I've got full confidence in them. And economic development is no longer just about the numbers and the spreadsheets. It's a marketing game now. We have to market this city. And time, what we hear is we don't know Fort Worth. We're caught up in the shadow of Dallas. If they come, they love us and they stay. But they've got to know us. The Chamber recently signed an agreement with Visit Fort Worth to help promote the city. And Visit Fort Worth has done an incredible job being innovative and creative. Heck, they got the first live event with the Charles Schwab Colonial this year. And we got voted the #1 zoo in the nation. And then we hosted the NFR, which was a little controversial, but it turned out to be great for us and great for this city. So people have grumbled for years about we need to see more buildings, we need more skyscrapers. Why don't we get the headquarters that some of our other neighbors are getting? So I want all of you to ask yourselves, what is it that you want and how do we get the message out? Do you want a strong chamber? And if so, get involved and help lead and be a part of that. Our world is changing and we can't sit back. We've all got to get a little skin in this game, because if we don't get keep Fort Worth moving forward, then we'll stagnate. I was really pleased to be able to form Fort Worth Now as we were beginning to look at coming out of the pandemic. The right people at the tables, the CEOs of the major businesses that we have here, and they're on fire. John Goff and Elaine Agather have done a great job, and Jarrett Watkins is their director. Fort Worth now has some great items on the table. I think you're going to see a whole lot coming out of that and coming out of our chamber. But the reality of it is, everybody watching has to get involved and help us grow this city.
And the growth isn't just city of Fort Worth specific. Yes, we want our city to stand strong, but you have also been a big believer in the value and the strength of regionalism. And with that vein, we want to move into that topic, supporting the North Texas region. I know that you had a great working relationship with former Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings, so he is here this afternoon virtually with the next question for you, Mayor Price.
Hi, Betsy, and congratulations on your last State of the City address. For 10 years, you've been a great mayor for Fort Worth and a great partner for me for 8 years. You stayed 2 years longer than I did, and you got to deal with COVID, and I didn't have to deal with it. Look, I just am so proud of our friendship and our partnership, and one of the things we did is it told the DFW story about the airport, about the region, around the world on our trips. And we got to know each other pretty well. So I got two important questions about those trips. First of all, who stayed up the latest and was the most fun on those trips? And second, on a serious note, why is that important? Why did we feel that telling the world about the marvels of DFW from an economic development story it was the right thing to do, and what do we think about that in the future? Congratulations. I'll see you soon.
Mike's a dear friend, and I keep up with him, and I'm enjoying Eric Johnson now, but I got really close to Mike because we were elected at the same time. He's really funny. But as to his question is who stayed up later, clearly I did, or he wouldn't ask that question. I do like a little tequila, and I like to have a good time.
Do we need some of that for her to really be unplugged?
But you know, regionalism is very important to us. We are the fourth largest region in the nation, and with this census, we may very well eclipse Chicago as the third largest. Now, I'm as Fort Worth oriented as they come. I believe DFW stands for Destination Fort Worth. But the truth is we can do this better if we operate as a region, particularly on mobility, transportation items, and our brand awareness is stronger. We co-own the airport with Dallas, and our airport is the biggest economic engine that we have, and we've got to work together. Even in this downturn, with all the fall off on airline travel, we still were the busiest airport in the nation. So it behooves us to all come together. People know us as a region. They don't worry about where am I going to have dinner, where am I going to work. They go back and forth. They go to the museums here. They come to the zoo here. They go to Dallas for a lot of things too. So you've got to stay in context and work as a region to build it. And one of the fun things is we're working on a connection, a bike trail, walk trail between Dallas and Fort Worth. Should be done in 2023, and I plan to be the first one on that trail to complete the whole ride.
So that's why you're leaving City Hall?
That's right. I got to get in shape and train a little bit.
So obviously you appreciate and respect that we have to have a regional approach so that everyone can tap into this economic development. But I know, Mayor, too, you were also very focused on what's happening in the neighborhoods, on those streets, in those communities where our people live and work and create lives for them and their children.
Yeah, the real backbone of any city is strong neighborhoods. Just like small businesses are the economic backbone, strong neighborhoods are the backbones. Fort Worth has worked very hard on our neighborhood improvement programs, putting $3 million or plus a year in neighborhoods that met the criteria for struggling. Stop 6, Ash Crescent, Rosemont, Northside, and Como. We've put that money in to increase people's pride in their neighborhood, to put lights in, to put sidewalks in, to help bring back that ownership in the neighborhoods. And it's been successful. Crime's gone down in those neighborhoods and more people are out. Cavill and Butler, the last of our federal housing projects, are now empty. Most of those folks, all of those folks, have been relocated to areas that they chose and seem to be very happy. 10 years ago, we couldn't have imagined closing the last of those projects and doing it with no brouhaha. We got a $35 million Choice Neighborhood grant this year from HUD that's going into regrowing the Stop 6 neighborhood, and I'm really excited about what we're going to see. We'll keep the pressure on for encouraging economic development in those regions, and all our neighborhoods are going to stand strong.
What is Stop 6 going to look like with that $35 million investment once it's all spent?
Some beautiful renderings. It's going to be fabulous.
You know, you talked about how, you know, this has been, the last few months have been a year of crisis after another. It's been under your leadership that this city has dealt with civil unrest. It has dealt with some troubling incidents involving the police department. And we also have a new police chief as you were leaving. So talk about how Fort Worth is standing strong and your hope and your promise to those communities in this area where civil unrest has been felt.
Fort Worth has stood strong on this, and one of the reasons is that we always, not just this council and mayor, but this city supports our police department. We will not defund our police, and we will not cut them. We never have, we never will in Fort Worth. There is a lot of work to be done to regain the confidence and trust, but I'm 100% confident in our new chief, in Neil Noakes. He's going to carry on Ed Krause's tradition of servant leadership. He's an incredible guy. I'm excited about him. If you haven't met Chief Noakes yet, he would love to have a cup of coffee with you. He's just a family man, a devout Christian. He came up through the ranks in this department 20 plus years ago. He'll do a great job, and we have had some major instances, and we are getting there. And violent crime has ticked up during COVID in every major city, and we're tackling that. But in Fort Worth, it's worth noting that we are one of the only major cities whose overall crime rate has gone down.
I think that in the selection of Chief Noakes and in the panel of candidates that were questioned in the public forum, one of the things that we heard from the candidates, we heard from this community is, how do you go about rebuilding trust between the police department and the community? That has to be solid, that has to stand strong.
Yeah, Chief Noakes was clearly the choice of the community. They felt like he would bring that leadership. But I think the city as a whole, the low-hanging, the easy solutions to rebuilding trust, to making deep changes are already done. You know, when there's a tragedy like the shooting of Tatiana Jefferson or the civil unrest that followed the George Floyd death, the attentions get focused on just those issues and just those policies. And the reality of it is, in Fort Worth, we've been working on this for years, even when the media isn't necessarily watching. We've been steadily working on race relations in Fort Worth. Are we perfect? No, we're far from it. But we have made good progress. Christina Brooks was hired probably a year and a half ago, as our diversity and inclusion officer. And this year, during the pandemic, Kim Neal came on as our new police monitor. These two women are leading departments that get up every day and do the hard work just trying to improve our community relations and rebuild the truth. And they are doing a beautiful job. The Office of Police Oversight that Kim held has just done fabulous work, even in the midst of a pandemic. They've done community connections via Zoom. They've done some town halls. They've worked with our officers to hear what they want. They've worked with what the community, but the challenges remain. And I do think that the next mayor and council are going to have to continue that community outreach and continue to listening. But what I would say to the council is, don't get down and get split on this issue like other cities have. Don't listen to just a very small handful of squeaky wheels. Rather, listen to the entire city. The message coming from everyone is clear. We want to rebuild that trust. And we have 900,000 people that we represent, and we must listen to all of them, and we must serve them all.
And when you talk about you must listen to all of them, they do need to know that the welcome mat is out at City Hall.
Absolutely.
They do need to engage with the city and with public elected officials if they do want change.
Yeah, and I'm not going to dwell on the new City Hall, but part of the beauty of the new City Hall, it's free parking, it's easy access, and we'll have a bigger chamber where people can engage. And for 10 years, I've really worked on engagement. I've probably been out and about in this community more than anybody else, whether it's on a bicycle or running or walking or just talking to people, doing coffee with the mayor, Java with Jungus, I've been to a bunch. We are connecting people, and we have more people in at City Hall now, and I think you've got to continue that. Steer Fort Worth sprung up as a result of the low voter turnout in the first year that I was elected. They're doing a beautiful job of increasing that young adults voter turnout, and a good many of them are serving on boards and commissions now. The faith-based cabinet that has advised me for 10 years has done a fabulous job getting the messages out to different congregations and getting their messages back to us. The new appointments project that's aimed at getting gender and diversity wider on our boards and commissions starts additional training in March. I really think that's been great. It's our public-private partnerships. I'll give you one quick example of what's happened and what's been so good. At Saving Hope, 10 years ago, Fort Worth, only 35% of the animals that came to our shelter were rescued alive. Due to public partnerships that Kit Moncrief and Kelsey Patterson drove, we now are a no-kill shelter. We rescue 98% of the animals. That's a great example of engagement.
So we've had some high-profile guests here with us this afternoon. We've had Emmett Smith, we've had Mike Rawlings, we have, I don't know, maybe one of the highest levels you can go, the White House. Former President George W. Bush wanted to ask a question of you, Mayor Price. So here is his question for you.
Mayor Price, thank you for your service to the city of Fort Worth. Being a mayor isn't easy. As President Johnson once said, when the burdens of the presidency seem unusually heavy, I always remind myself it could be worse. I could be a mayor. Betsy, you have left your mark and made a great city even greater. Laura and I send you and Tom our best wishes, but we've got a feeling you still have plenty of things to accomplish. So my question is, what's next for you? Have you considered painting?
You know, it's been a true honor to get to know George and Laura. They're just delightful people, and he just has a great attitude. And no, I'm not going to take up painting. They would throw me out if I did. I plan to ride my bike a lot, spend time with my family, and try to be the best Tootsie, because Tootsie's my grandmother's name, to these kids. You know, I grew up in a family that believed it was service before self, and it's a calling for me to serve in this community. All right, now I'm going to get choked up. But I can confidently say I was not looking for this job. It was a calling, and I'm not certain but what God may call me to do something else. Who knows?
All right. We are down to the last few moments, Mayor Price. On my list of questions, I mean, I have a few other things, but, you know, we can talk about those backstage. Like, I want to know, is she going to give up her suits and go with athleisure wear or Spanx?
Yes.
The Target Prairie dress. But I know you have a few closing thoughts that you want to share.
I do. Deborah, thank you for being with us. It's been fun, and anytime we've called you, you've said yes, and that means a lot. Channel 5 is our local station for Fort Worth, so we're blessed. You know, this has really been a defining decade for the city of Fort Worth, so much bigger than just the pandemic and the ice storm. Just think, 10 years ago, Sundance Square was a parking lot. Clear Fork was a ranch. There was no Bergdorf, no Neiman's, no shopping in sight. Tom would have liked that better. You could still smoke indoors. Imagine that. Nobody knew what Blue Zones was. 10 years ago, the Chisholm Trail Tollway didn't exist, and nobody was riding B-cycles. Heck, nobody took Uber and Lyft because they weren't here. 5 years ago in my State of the City, I've put forth a vision that I stand by today. I envision a Fort Worth that finds strength in the diversity of its people and its industry. I envisioned a Fort Worth with a strong central city, making optimal use of its infrastructure and its resources. I envision a city where businesses and all neighborhoods are actively engaged and invested in their neighborhood, and particularly in lifting up our children and our public school. I envisioned a Fort Worth that is world-renowned as a safe, friendly, active, and innovative community. And I still stand with that vision. This past decade, serving as mayor has been the greatest honor of my life. And I truly believe that we've accomplished incredible things together. And we've had a little fun along the way. You heard Mayor Rawlings say that. I always say it's the job of each of us to plant trees under whose shade we will never sit. And I won't be at the new City Hall. And I'm proud to say that I think we've done just that. The initiatives that we've started are all on their own now, and their work will continue long after I'm out of the mayor's chair. Read Fort Worth, Steer Fort Worth, Fit Worth, Blue Zones, Fort Worth Now, they're all incredibly important, and they're issues that must be dealt with, and they must continue no matter who's here. To my colleagues and my fellow council members, you've been the greatest partners to work with. Through it all, including crazy 2020-2021 start, we've managed to not just work together, but to actually still like each other. I believe we actually did our best work when we disagreed, when we showed this community and other cities around us what it looks like when adults come in a room together and disagree with respect and civility for the greater good of the city and find a solution. It means we didn't always get what we wanted, but we worked to put Fort Worth first. I hope and pray the next mayor and council will maintain that spirit. Redistricting will be a big issue to be dealt with right out of the gate. Lead strongly and lead inclusively. Council members, you will draw the map, but you must put Fort Worth first, not any single district. And the community, you must pay attention and be involved. To my family, thank you for supporting me these last 10 years and more. Tom's my best friend, and I hope you're ready to see a lot more of me. Catherine, Matt, Paul, and Katie, Philip and Katie, you make me proud every day. And to my 6 grandchildren, you are what's driven me to make Fort Worth better for you for the next 20 years. We've worked to make it better. And finally, to Fort Worth, my hometown, the city is strong because each and every one of you has stood strong. It's been an honor to get up every day and go to work. I hope that the passion I have will be there in the next person that you select. Our nation has lost its focus on service above self. We wouldn't be as politically divided as we are if more elected officials stood up and talked about and did public service rather than looking for their next office. True public servants are interested in fixing problems, not getting attention. Let Fort Worth be the shining example of servant leadership. Thank you for letting me serve you these last 10 years. I gave it all and left nothing on the table. To our business leaders who are fighting to weather the storm for their employees, to parents who are sacrificing today so that your kids might have a better life, to teachers who show up and stay late to help our kids, to the young professionals coming here with a big dream and the courage to chase it, to each and every Fort Worthian who's working to make it better. You are Fort Worth. You're the trailblazers, the cowboys, the pioneers, the cowgirls. You are the soul of this city. It's been an honor to serve you. And no matter who comes next, keep pressing on and keep standing strong. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mayor Betsy Price, the longest serving mayor in the history of Fort Worth. Mayor Price, thank you so much.
I almost lost it. Almost, Brandon.
I mean, you got really close, but you did it really well. I had tissues right here, ready to go. Didn't she do a great? Did y'all survive okay? That was amazing, emotional. So a couple of things we want to do right before we wrap up this last state of the city. So 2 gifts. Number one, the Chamber has new offices, if you don't know, and so we are going to officially have the Chamber Howdy Room after Mayor Betsy Price, whose slogan has traditionally been Howdy. And then number 2, if you don't know this guy right here, he is not a bouncer or security guard. That is Juan Velasquez, local artist, and he is going to do a mural for Betsy Price to honor her and her 10 years as mayor. Come on up, Juan.
Thank you.
So be on the lookout for that. We're so excited. It's been so amazing to be able to hear from our wonderful mayor. No one exemplifies Fort Worth better. She rides a bike, she drinks tequila, she can wear heels and ride a horse. We could all be so lucky. So Mayor Price, we love you. Thank you all at home for joining us. And here's to onward and upward in 2021. Thanks a lot. See you, everybody.
Don't know what to do now, so I keep running, keep on believing that things will get better. Somebody tell me now, see I don't know right now. I'ma keep walking, I'ma keep talking, 'cause no matter what comes my way, I'll be okay. Let me tell you why, I can do this all day, all day, all day. I can do this all day, all day, all day.